Rich, that The View is saying she got the job based on looks when DEI is all about based on looks?
It's too late. That's basically what Karoline Leavitt is telling The View after their desperate on-air attempt to calm things down and avoid her $800 million lawsuit. And if you thought this whole situation was dying down, it's actually getting worse. Whoopi, Joy, and Sunny are suddenly trying to act friendly on live TV, but Karoline isn't moving an inch. She's not backing off, she's doubling down. And the timing could not be worse for ABC. A few weeks ago, they mocked her and treated the lawsuit like a joke. Now, they're practically begging for things to cool off. But Karoline's message is simple. Before we get into what's happening behind the scenes at ABC, hit the like button and subscribe for more updates the mainstream media won't talk about. Did you subscribe? Great, let's get into it.
Really don't like this woman. She's a good communicator. And so Joy Behar just offered her analysis on why Leavitt was picked for the...
This wasn't just another episode of The View. It was the start of a major storm, and none of the hosts saw it coming. When Karoline Leavitt announced her $800 million defamation lawsuit, the whole studio reacted with smug smiles and sarcastic laughs. They didn't take her seriously at all. They didn't even stop to think about the consequences. Joy Behar, always ready with a joke, treated the lawsuit like a comedy bit. "This is just a PR stunt," she said, waving it off. Another conservative begging for attention. Whoopi rolled her eyes from her seat. "We've dealt with worse," she muttered. "This will disappear by next week." And Sunny Hostin, the legal expert of the show, smiled confidently and told viewers, "This case has no legs. None. It'll get tossed out before it even reaches a courtroom." They laughed. The audience laughed. It felt like just another normal day on the show. But what they didn't know was that Karoline wasn't bluffing. She wasn't doing this for fame or headlines. She wasn't trying to go viral. She had facts. She had evidence. She had receipts. And behind the scenes, her team was working non-stop. They weren't just reviewing what was said on the air. They were pulling archived episodes, old show notes, internal emails, producer messages, everything. Karoline's strategy was simple. While The View laughed on live TV, ABC's legal department started to panic. Producers suddenly got emails from lawyers asking if they remembered certain conversations. Editors were told to pull raw, uncut footage. Legal assistants were digging through storage for old documents. Because Karoline wasn't only accusing them of defamation.
I have to stop you with the camera, because I can see you. So do me a favor, don't pull it out again. I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Then came the bombshell. Leaked emails from the show's internal Slack channels were exposed. One message said, Joy should press her hard on the youth angle. Get her flustered early. Another said, keep the audience engaged. Cut to reactions when she stutters. And in a handwritten planning notebook, someone had actually written, let her dig her own grave. Just ask about Trump, she'll spiral. This wasn't just about what happened on camera anymore. This was about what they planned before the cameras even turned on. The laughs and jokes that once filled living rooms were now being replayed in complete silence inside courtrooms, law firms, and media war rooms across the country. And Karoline? She didn't rant. She didn't complain online. She didn't post dramatic tweets.
Democrats in the media are now unloading all their nasty attacks on rising Trump White House star and new press secretary, Karoline Leavitt. Watch this.
When you have the truth on your side, you don't need to yell, you just wait. And as the days went by, everything inside ABC changed fast. The mood flipped from confident, to nervous, to full-on panic. At first, the meetings were relaxed. We've handled worse, one executive said on a Monday Zoom call. This will blow over. But by Thursday, those casual meetings had turned into emergency crisis calls. Top lawyers were flown in. Damage control experts were hired. Executives canceled their vacations. Entire departments were ordered to collect every document they had. PR teams were told to track public reaction every hour. What started as just a lawsuit had now exploded into a PR nightmare. And here's the part that really scared ABC. Karoline's team hadn't even started the discovery phase yet. Once discovery begins, both sides must hand over everything. Emails between hosts and producers are raw, unedited footage or planning notes or internal staff complaints or any warnings about the show's behavior. And yes, there were warnings. One leaked memo from 6 months earlier said, I'm concerned recent interviews with younger conservative guests feel overly aggressive, borderline targeted. Another note from HR said, there seems to be a pattern of intentionally creating tension. Not sure if it's editorial direction or personal bias.
These women are completely out of touch with reality, and you're right, ABC should wake up.
These weren't random notes, they were warnings. And ABC ignored all of them. That's when the panic started spreading through the entire company. Interns who used to just grab coffee were suddenly being asked what they overheard during planning meetings. Junior producers quietly called their own lawyers. Some staff began deleting old texts. Others started cleaning out group chats, hoping nothing could be traced back to them. And through all of this, Karoline's team stayed completely silent. No interviews. No statements. No leaks. Just calm, steady silence. It was unsettling, almost strategic. One ABC executive even told a coworker, "It feels like she's already won, and we're just waiting for the paperwork."
For me, and sort of lived lives of dreams deferred and poured everything in me, and just my life, how I transitioned from college. I went to college when I was 16, high school when I was 12, the struggle of that, and my career as a federal prosecutor, and then how I found my way.
The team kept asking for updates, but the executives kept avoiding the questions because no one had anything good to report. Every day, a new problem showed up. Every hour, another leak came out. The legal team suggested settling quietly, but the PR team said paying Karoline would make the network look guilty. And even worse, what if Karoline said no? This wasn't just a lawsuit anymore. It had turned into a war. And the network was losing. By the time the hosts were finally told everything, it was already too late. They had laughed at Karoline on live TV. They had brushed off the lawsuit privately. Now they were watching the entire network shake under their feet. Whoopi Goldberg was furious. She didn't walk into the meeting calmly. She stormed in, late from set, hair half done and a makeup towel still in her hand. She didn't even sit down before yelling, "We're seriously thinking about making a deal with her?" The executives tried to explain the situation, the risky emails, the video clips, and the fact that if even one producer admitted they messed up, the whole case could explode into a huge media disaster. Whoopi didn't care. "We're making her look like a hero," she shouted. "You think Twitter is bad now? Wait until people find out we paid her." Joy Behar jumped in. "We built this show," she said angrily. "We carried this network through elections, scandals, shutdowns, everything. And now they're ready to fold over one lawsuit." The room went silent. Everyone looked at Sunny Hostin, the lawyer at the table, the one who always understood the legal reality. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't even look up. She just slid the printed lawsuit back onto the table and softly said, "She has enough evidence to take this to court. And if this becomes public, it won't just hit us. It'll hit the whole network." Whoopi glared at her. "So you're saying we should apologize?" Sunny didn't answer. She didn't have to. Deep down, she already knew that apologizing might be the only option left. And that was the scariest part.
Conflating two ideas, this word wokeness didn't look like she really understood what it meant, or certainly the way Karoline Leavitt meant it when she made that statement, and she was conflating it with civil rights and how, women didn't have the right to vote or own property and all of that. That has nothing to do with wokeness, which is, of course, about putting people in there because of their immutable characteristics rather than the merit that they bring to the table.
When the cameras turned on that morning, everyone could tell something was wrong. The set of The View looked normal, bright lights, big smiles, but the energy was completely different. There were no jokes, no quick comments, just silence and long, uncomfortable pauses. Whoopi sat with her hands folded. Her usual playful smirk was gone. She stared straight into the camera, took a deep breath, and quietly said, "Things have gotten a little out of hand. Maybe we need to step back." Viewers were shocked. Then Joy Behar spoke. She normally brushes off criticism, but this time she sounded nervous. Her voice even cracked a little. She didn't try to joke or laugh. "I don't know why this has to go so far. Can't we just talk?" It was the first time Joy had ever seemed unsure on live TV. Then Sunny leaned forward and looked directly into the camera, like she was speaking straight to Karoline. "Karoline, if you're watching, maybe there's a better way to handle this." 3 co-hosts, 3 quiet pleas. No jokes, no attitude, just a strange, almost scripted attempt to calm things down.
Attacking a woman for her looks or age isn't very progressive. Let's bring in Sky News contributor Kosha Garda. Kosha, particularly that last clip that we played, it was so condescending. The way that she was scolding her as if she was a schoolgirl, suggesting she needed to do her homework. I find it so hypocritical when these so-called, caring, progressive voices just turn so nasty like that.
Yes, and as you mentioned, with conservative women, there's a long list of that, both of Trump's previous press secretaries, females, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, Kayleigh McEnany, other figures like his campaign manager the first time, Kellyanne Conway, Sarah Palin very famously had to bear the brunt of a lot of this. So people are used to that. I think in their bubble of the audience that The View speaks to, that's probably kind of what the group think is. So one defense, I guess, is that she was speaking to her audience, but you take it outside of that bubble the way you are right now, and we all can see.
The dismissive jokes were gone. The mocking was gone. In its place was something new, desperation. But Karoline didn't respond. Not on Twitter. Not at a press conference. Not even with a vague social media post. Her team released only one cold, chilling line. "We are moving forward as planned." That was it. And just like that, everyone understood, this wasn't about talking things out. It wasn't about making peace. It was about accountability. Karoline had waited, watched, gathered her evidence, and now, while The View rushed to repair their public image, she stayed silent and let their panic speak for her. The hosts tried to soften their tone, but viewers weren't fooled. This wasn't humility. It was fear. And the whole country saw it. Within minutes of the episode airing, the internet exploded. Clips from the show spread faster than anything The View had posted in months. Side-by-side comparisons showed the hosts laughing at Karoline the week before, and now suddenly begging for calm. One viral tweet said, "If you weren't guilty, you wouldn't be begging." Another, "That's not humility, that's fear." Hashtags surged across every platform. #Karoline was right, #View meltdown, #media accountability, #receipts don't lie. TikTok creators analyzed the host's tone frame by frame. YouTubers uploaded 30-minute breakdowns pointing out every contradiction in Whoopi's statements. Even meme pages jumped in. One meme showed Whoopi next to a sinking ship with the caption, "Captain goes down with The View." Another meme had Joy clutching a legal binder with wide eyes and the text, "When the roast session turns into a deposition." It wasn't just funny, it was brutal. Fox News and conservative outlets ran full segments on the meltdown. Opinion shows called it a historic reckoning. But even some center and left-leaning voices agreed, politics didn't matter, truth and transparency did. And through all of it, Karoline said nothing. No victory lap. No snarky comments. She simply let the internet do what it does best, amplify the truth. Every minute The View scrambled to contain the damage, Karoline gained more support, more respect, and more momentum. Her silence? It was louder than any broadcast.
Want to take this?
So, you cannot be attractive and smart? I will try to give Joy the benefit of, well, thank you. I try to give Joy the benefit of the doubt that she didn't see that briefing. Because if you saw that yesterday on numerous topics, no big binder, I think she might have had a different impression of this young woman who held her own.
I mean, you would have to give her the benefit of the doubt that she did absolutely no research or reading about anything dealing with Karoline Leavitt before she made that remark. Because Karoline Leavitt she went to St. Anselm College. She worked for WMUR
Ran for Congress?
In New Hampshire. She ran for Congress at the age of 25, put out a very good campaign. She lost by 8 or 9 points, but she still put on a good campaign. Then she was the press secretary for the Trump campaign, going on TV literally every day.
Well, heavily pregnant and a new mom.
Pregnant. Yeah, she's a new mother. And then she goes out yesterday and gives and this, again, this is speaking very objectively, because I've watched every press secretary since going back to Marlon Fitzwater. Yeah, I'm that old. And she went out there for her very first briefing at the age of 27 years old, the youngest press secretary ever, and did a terrific job.
So everyone expected Karoline to make a move, a press tour, a viral statement, maybe a sit-down interview on some major network. But she didn't flinch. She didn't waver. She didn't budge. Karoline stayed silent. Her team stayed locked in. No distractions. No bait-taking. No media games. While The View scrambled publicly, Karoline's camp was doing the real work, reviewing evidence, cataloging raw footage, interviewing witnesses, and cross-checking every detail. And behind the scenes, their message was crystal clear. Karoline wasn't here for PR. She was here for justice. The legal documents? Airtight. The witness testimonies? Stacking up fast. Producer memos, old emails, offhand jokes made behind the scenes. Everything was being pulled into the official record.
Likened President Trump to Hitler. They have mocked him. They have shamed him. They have lied about him consistently on their show. And it was a joy to watch them on November the 6th when they realized that tens of millions of Americans do not listen to the lies that they have spewed. These women are completely out of touch with reality. And you're right. ABC should wake up. They just paid $15 million to President Trump's future library. That's a great thing for the American people.
Karoline wasn't doing this out of spite. She was doing it because she was done with the double standard. Done being mocked on air and silenced off air. Done with fake apologies. Done with selective outrage. She'd seen it happen before, but this time, she had the power to fight back. And she wasn't wasting it. People called her brave. Others called her strategic. Most just called her right. She wasn't screaming. She wasn't pointing fingers. She was simply moving forward. Meanwhile, the View was shrinking fast. Inside ABC, chaos was spreading like wildfire. Executives held emergency sessions twice a day. Advertisers quietly pulled out. Staff updated resumes behind the scenes. Internal memos leaked with titles like Reputational Risk Escalation and Contingency Strategy, The View. Some execs floated rebranding the show. Others whispered, maybe it's time to end it entirely. This wasn't just a lawsuit. This was a full-blown brand crisis. And they knew it. The damage? Legal, emotional, cultural, historical.
You know, listen. If you don't have anything to say, you blab. You just go on and 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 on. Right. That's what you hear. Yeah. When they don't have anything to hold you with, nothing to make you think about what they have to say, they talk at you, not to you. And that's what she was doing. And she was doing it, and it's not new. No. But everybody's hip to you all now. Yeah. And we are anticipating that you are not prepared. Because you keep saying you going and you preparing when you're on the trail.
The View always claimed to be daytime truth-telling. But now the audience saw the real side, the side behind the curtain, rehearsed lines, scripted chaos, and bullying disguised as banter.
This young lady this is her first job, I would like her to do a little homework. Because she said something yesterday that really pissed me off. And that was, she said, there will be no wokeness here. Oh, yeah. Let me explain something to you. Because without that wokeness, you might not have that job. Yeah. Because women were not invited to that table. Women were not invited to many tables in this nation. The reason we fought and busted our behinds to make sure that you didn't have to worry about this. And now to hear you talk about it and to hear anybody talk about the wokeness was put in place for a reason. Because black people couldn't get into colleges. Because women could not get into the colleges they wanted to go to. This is all women. Yeah. See, this is not black, Asian women. This is all women. Women were not invited to this party. It was a man's world, and we busted our asses to make sure that this was...
And Karoline? She wasn't backing down. No apologies. No chasing headlines. Just calm, clear, and unshakable. This wasn't about money anymore. It was about setting the record straight. And millions of Americans were watching her do it.
Voters do not agree with these despicable women on The View. They are wildly out of touch with the vast majority of Americans, and frankly, they should seek immediate help because voters are going to re-elect President Trump back to the White House very soon because voters see these trials that are being brought forward against President Trump for what they are. They are sham show trials. They are election interference in an attempt to imprison President Trump. And the irony in all of this is that Joe Biden and the Democrats and these ladies on The View constantly say President Trump is the alleged threat to democracy, when in fact they themselves are wishfully thinking that President Trump will be imprisoned when he has not been convicted of any crimes. That is the real threat to democracy. Voters see that, and that's why President Trump continues his dominance in the polls, not just with Republicans and independents, but he's also picking up historic gains with Democrat constituencies such as African Americans, Hispanic Americans, and union workers.
What happens next? Could this rewrite the rulebook for talk shows, media personalities, and how far networks can go before someone finally pushes back? Karoline didn't flinch. She fought, and the storm she brought? It's far from over. Now it's your turn. Did The View go too far? Is Karoline right to hold her ground? Should media shows face real consequences for what they say on air? Drop your thoughts below. Smash that like button if you believe in truth over spin. Subscribe so you don't miss the next twist in this ongoing drama. Karoline Leavitt just made media history, and something tells us she's just getting started.